Hello everybody, gonna be showcasing some Centur-Ion Red Dragon Archfiend replays today. Honestly, the easiest Master 1 climb I've ever had. Deck list will be at the end of the video. There are multiple ones. There's a 50 card one for the people that enjoy the bare minimum. And then you have my preferred ways to play, which is pile list, which is just 60 cards of a whole lot of good stuff. So let's get into the replays. This is actually a very good game to start off the video with, because it shows possibly full potential of this archetype when it's combined with Centur-Ion, and obviously I love my Bystials as well. This might be my favorite opener in the game currently, where I can go with a Bystial, Vision Resonator and Crimson Resonator into a red Supernova Dragon without even using my normal summon. As you can see right here, I even get to send the Lubellion to the graveyard. The thing is, this is incredibly resilient in a lot of scenarios to also play around, because you didn't use your normal summon, so in theory you could normal summon the Soul Resonator if they stop you at any earlier point. Obviously I didn't have a Soul Resonator in hand, but it's still like it's a threat for the opponent. So I already have Supernova Dragon. You might be like, why did you send that to the graveyard? Needed something to send to the graveyard. We can resummon it with the Bystial Dissipator anyway, so it's not the biggest of problems. I kind of didn't want to give up on anything in my hand. Now I have mastered, I believe, to do this in a bit more of a better way, but you know, in the end it's kind of the same result. We get online the Centur-Ion engine while having Abyss and Red Supernova on the field. We also get to have Scar Light, I believe, or if we hadn't summoned Scar Red, you could pick that depending on how you do the exact setup. And we also have the Bystial Lubellion, which honestly I should have summoned in a bit of a different way, especially when I have Bystial Lubellion. You can actually end the field with Dissipator on the field, but we have Regain, so it doesn't really matter. And instead here we can just use the Primera with the Lubellion to do the Crimson Dragon into a Blazer Dragon, because we have Red Supernova already on the field, so there's no point in, you know, summoning him. So yeah, it's just Labrinth. They're doing Labrinth things. There's gonna be a lot of chain stuff, and I might not do this the most optimal way against them, because they clearly have a lot of gas. Like I do too, obviously, you saw my board. But it's more like a showcase of what you can pull off with this Centur-Ion package in Red Dragon Archfiend decks. So Blazer Dragon actually got a Royal of this and a Royal of Auxilla. You'll see that in later replays, I presume. Or at least they'll be in my extra deck if I ever click on it. But yeah, I just have a gigantic field and they can't really do anything about it. Even though there's like these gigantic chains, it's just they can't really stop me. Like they lose this game. They even scoop. You kind of see how much gas and potential this deck can have now. I just kind of want to show you guys how this combo is actually meant to be played when you don't mess it up because you're experienced. Because at this stage I would say I'm pretty experienced, but you would just be willing to discard everything to do this combo, I guess, is the takeaway. Then you would bring back Vision Resonator, and at this stage it's where it diverges a bit. If you had Lubellion available, you would summon him here, otherwise you just go straight into Vision Resonator, or not Vision Resonator, Bystial Dissipator, right? We put Branded Regain down, and this is where it gets spicy. If you have Lubellion, you want to shuffle in Scar Red. If you do not have Lubellion, you want to shuffle in the... well, you wouldn't have Branded Regain, so it doesn't matter. If you have Branded Regain down, you want to shuffle in Scar Red. But you want to make sure you don't summon Uvulu before you actually have space for it. That's a big mistake you could do. But we are just gonna banish the OG Red Dragon Archfiend, because what we can do now is we can go in here, summon the Abyss, then we can call back the Red Dragon Archfiend, and that gives us Auxilla. Now we did draw the Wake Up Centur-Ion, but we don't really need to worry about what we drew, because normally we would search it anyways. But that's the card. Like, this is where the difference is with the with opening a way to access Lubellion Primera, and then we would search Wake Up Centur-Ion, but since we already have it in hand, we just take another field spell. Why not? Obviously the trap, but you know, we don't have space for it anyways. And this is where the combo basically have reached perfection, because we now make Scar Red, which means we'll have this entire board, and instead of Scar Red we'll have OG Red Dragon Archfiend, And then on the final spot we'll have a Blazer Dragon. We just have a game that showcases how you can to a degree play around all your stuff is being banished, which is incredibly frustrating and annoying, especially for Resonators to deal with. Just you can't really do anything much with that. You have to search the Wild Wind, and that is literally the best play I have at that moment. At least I get to draw a card, I go battle phase, and I definitely want to get rid of that, but unfortunately they haven't evenly matched, and I'm just like, you know what, next turn I can probably tribute the Bystial Lubellia, draw a card, search the Vision Resonator, and from there I can kind of go into a Red Dragon Archfiend with the option of red zoning back the Ancient Pixie Dragon if I need it later. Scar Red usually means you can win the game, at least if it can hit the graveyard, so the main problem here is trying to deal with the Dimensional Fissure. To some degree, it probably wasn't the smartest move to get rid of his monster, because that means he can kind of start coming off since he is Kashtira after all. No idea why he would play the Summoner Monk, but you know, he did start, went first, had the Dimensional Fissure, so you know, that's pretty typical of any opponent you'll ever face. And then he goes for stealing my monster, so I'm kind of disarmed here because I put everything into getting that. Best I can do is put down Red Zone on a monster. I wasn't actually aware this could target face down, but hey, at least it can't attack, so you know, a bit of a win there. Just gonna bring back the Ancient Pixie Dragon block, that means he has to attack there. And now I can bring it back, do Chain Resonator, and finally get rid of this Dimensional Fissure and start setting up for potential win condition. Also get a nice draw there. Honestly, what I should probably have done is go through some other situation here, but you know, he does have my Scar Red, and then because I don't know if there's actually a way you can see what stuff is banished face down, but I thought I had another play available to me here, which I just didn't, but it's fine because I get to summon both Red Dragon Archfiends, and you might be like, ah, that's not quite enough, you clearly messed up. Well, I can go into my Crimson Dragon because we do run that now with the Centur-Ion support, and then summon Scarlight, pop my own field, and lethal damage, even though I was floodgated the entire game. My opponent is playing Snake Eyes, Tearlament, Horus, Yubel, and maybe some more archetypes I forgot about. They are basically playing every single meta deck they could possibly fit together, I guess. And yeah, let's see what they cook up and then how we deal with it. Especially going second with 0 hand traps and a Tudea and Wake Up Centurion in hand. It's gonna be important to note that they also have a Fairy Tail Snow active for when it's my turn, so they have even more disruption than first will appear. So it's finally my turn, and most people would just straight up give up here. They would be like, nah, this board is impossible. How even? They even removed their own field spell. How are you gonna play around this? And to that I say, well, we need a field spell to get going. And then it's fairly easy, because we just grab a Vision Resonator. And we have the Soul Resonator, and we have Scar Red here, but obviously that's where the Fairy Tail Snow comes in. And even if you saw this play, you would now normally concede, because you're like, yeah, game's impossible. However, I'm like, oh yeah, I just needed a Scar Red on the field, right? Easy. Because what people forget is that you can chain lock like this. You can literally just chain lock it, and then pop the entire field. And that is how you can play around an Appaloosa. This is essentially just enough to win you the game then and there. Just because I also have the red zone and this beta. They go straight for the battle phase. Unfortunately, I couldn't activate red zone, so they kind of clear out. But it's fine, I've already Synchro Summoned, I have Scar Red online. I can pop their Sarcophagus. It's like, okay, they are trying to go into Yubel plays. But honestly, at this stage, it doesn't matter. They've already lost. Like, no matter what they play, I have so many ways to just get past anything they would play, even though they are, like, as you can see, they are full on gas. But the biggest important thing is that they are out of extra deck stuff. They can't really summon anything. There are quite a few factors in this game that makes it interesting, even though I'm going first. And let's start off with the obvious one. They're gonna Maxi me, and then they're gonna Imperm me. And at that stage, I don't really feel like playing too much. I'm like, you know, I have 2 Bystials in hand. I feel kind of fine with that. I can play with that and then an Imperm. I do, however, search the Bone Archfiend just in case. feel like that's a good choice there. I could have gone into a Red Dragon Archfiend, but that could also be risky. I will say I'm making some misplay here, but we are against Yubel, the best deck in the game. So yeah, the fact that I won with misplays is kind of impressive. What I should have done here is trigger the Imperm on the Phantom of Yubel. Just lock that out of the game, because then when they do stuff like this, I can banish both the Fiends and they get no value from it. Instead, I let them trigger the Spirit of Yubel. What I've learned, specifically going against Yubel decks, is that if you can be more passive, having a more passive approach and wait for them to be in a choke spot where you can just be like, oh, you messed up. Now, Yubel is in the graveyard. You just discard it to the graveyard to special summon it. Oh, I'm Bystialing it. There you go. Problem solved. Then you can completely lock them out of the game. However, I feel like I'm still kinda working at locking them out of the game, but it's getting pretty close because they can still attack with 2 of them. Then they still go into an Unchained Soul, which, you know, I've got one of them banished because I don't want to deal with that during my turn. At this stage, I know I'm gonna add a Bystial to my hand at the end phase, so I'm ready to just get rid of that instantly so they can't do any shenanigans. And my plan is fairly simple here. Once they activate this, we'll just use the Druid's Worm, and then we can tribute it to get rid of whatever he link summons, which can send the Spirit of Yubel from the field. So it doesn't really matter what he targets here, he's basically lost already. Field's wide open, I can do everything I want to. Well, here you would know that, yeah, this should be pretty lethal damage. I think I can access, theoretically, well, everything I need, honestly. Like, he just gives up when he sees the Dispater, he knows he can't win at that stage. Here we go again. It's gonna be against Sky Strikers, and a little spoiler, they have an Ash, which is fine, I have a Call by the Grave, but they also have 2 Imperms, so my turn is just shut down. Luckily for me, even though they have the Imperms, I still get to at least get a Scarlet down, which means a lot of the time you can actually just win off with just a Scarlet with a Crimson Gaia, but obviously that's not always the case, but it just gives you a lot of recursion. We see here that, yeah, this is in fact Sky Striker. Good thing we have the Soul Resonator. Actually love that you can just protect stuff that means a lot. Honestly, might have been the bad call to take away Scarlet, because I still get an OG Red Dragon Archfiend when it's linked off, and I have access to full Centur-Ion, so they clearly messed up here. Then again, they decided to go for the Crimson Gaia, which is actually a wise choice, and just completely rid off. But I still have access to my Bone Archfiend, I can search a Resonator, and I have the Centur-Ion place, so I really do not see how they could possibly win here at this stage. Especially when I have the Uber Loop too, I have everything. Like, everything is available to me. Like, how do they even win? That is really what you gotta ask yourself. Now, there is a potential misplay that you could say that I'm kind of doing here. Obviously, we already use Scarlet, so I have to summon Scarlight, which is fine. But, yeah, getting rid of his monster might not be the smartest move. Obviously, we just summon the Scarlet, and then we synchro it off. But I'm like, it's kind of fine. I have a negate with the Dispater. But honestly, should probably have held it there and thought this play more through before just like YOLOing into it, like with, because that took away the Dispater, right? But it's still lethal. But in theory, that could have been a costly mistake depending on the game state, is my point. But in this case, it didn't really matter, they're still dead. And I decided to do it the fancy way. I love the Scarlight effect. I know I have Maxi in this game, but so do they, which is why this game is interesting. Also, it's Yubel, and I have today in my opening hand. They end up ending on SP Little Knight and then a Phantom of Yubel, which is plenty of disruption, but I do evenly, which, you know, this would matter if they didn't have Maxi, but they have the Maxi, as I was saying. I try and bait the Phantom of Yubel, because then they would have to banish some more stuff on the field, and you know, like, they would basically mess themselves up. They didn't fall for it. So instead I just set the Centurions, and I have a Bystial. And honestly, against specifically Yubel, I don't mind ending when I have access to summoning some blockers if necessary, because at this stage you can wait until they outplay themselves and then summon the Centurion stuff or the Druid's Worm. And the thing is, here I could technically just summon the Primera while chaining the Druid's Worm, and then I have a banish and I remove a special summoned monster, just like that. Obviously I feel like I'm forced to activate it here because they would otherwise be able to pop a spell or trap. So just making the best of what I can do here. They go into an Evolved Salas, which is a bit of a problem, not gonna lie there. But at least I'll have the Auxilia. This is a bit dumb of them, because they forgot what Yubel does at the end of the phase. They could have saved it to my turn, maybe done some more plays with it. But nah, they ended up wanting to deny me my Centur-Ion plays, which is honestly smart. I could have summoned the Duel Worm and then done a Chaos Angel if necessary. Fade out the Evolved Salas with the Rebellion. They also have an Ash, of course. But I make do, I make a Dissipator, and that should be just about enough of what I would want in my game to win, and they agree, so they scoop. I just want to showcase something here. It's not too of an interesting game because it's only my turn and the opponent scoops, but I feel like there's just a little interesting interaction if your opponent wants to banish your Crimson Resonator when, you know, like first off they shut down my Red Rising Dragon. That severely limits my plays by default. I would have to end on maybe a Bystial like Rebellion or like Bystial Dissipator. But instead, like he wanted to deny my Magnamod, so I just get to summon the Crimson Resonator and use the effect, which is really cool. Either way, I would have gone into Auxilia and have my Centur-Ion plays, but it's still funny that him trying to sabotage me ended up backfiring. It was definitely a misplay to imperm the Crim here. I just assumed, oh, they're normal summoning, they don't have anything else. Obviously, they have the one-off branded opening in hand, so just straight up a misplay. This would not even have been a replay if I had just saved the imperm for the Alubar, I reckon. Either way, it kind of is what it is. They still have access to the Alubar's fusion play, so I have to play around it. Also, surprisingly, they field line perfectly up into the evenly matched. I'm trying to do as many plays as possible. In hindsight, if I had known what my next card on the deck would have been, I should have taken the field spell. But I was playing around maybe going into Chaos Angel or some other plays here, and I couldn't have known that I was about to draw Bystial. This is where they disrupt me, unfortunately. Fortunately for me, I still obviously have the Crimson Resonator, and they didn't decide to banish that, but obviously they are trying to disrupt my Centur-Ion plays. Couldn't go into Auxilia if I wanted to, because I knew this would happen. So I'm just gonna take the draw. Luckily I do Bystial, and this is where if I had known ahead of time I could have banished the field spell, and then the usage of the Whirl Loop would have literally been summoning itself onto the field. Instead we just have a setup where I could go into a Chaos Angel and banish the Mirror Jade, and then assuming that their hand is not as good because it looked like it generally with their plays, then they would be scooping here because they're just kind of out of place now, and they did. The final game I'll show you guys is the one-rated game that you saw at the beginning. I actually kinda opened the possible dream combo, but as is often the case, they have a Nibiru. You know. However, we have potential plays, because I did not use the Bone Archfiend effect, so I can level down the Nibiru token, which allows me to summon Auxilia, as you'll see right here. This whole interaction just worked out perfectly for me, and I have full combo anyways, even though they Nibiru'd me. So, even though you got Nibiru'd, if you play with the Bone Archfiend, just Crimson Resonator Bone Archfiend, you're actually kind of safer in the sense that you can play around stuff now with the Centur-Ion stuff, which is great. Like, that just does so much for us. And you can see I have full board. I get the Crimson Dragon, I get Supernova, I win the game. Or if I wanted, I could get Blazer Dragon. It is Yubel, of course it's Yubel. Why would it not be Yubel? And they go straight into Typhon. We just pop that, they do send the Red Supernova Dragon back to the extra deck, but they can't special summon anymore, and I can just summon the next turn with Centur-Ion stuff, so they scoop. And I just wanted to quickly showcase how you could play around on Nibiru there. Now for the first deck list, this is my preferred 160 card. It has everything Bystial, Centur-Ion, Resonators. And you can do modifications, you can even add Flame Prime if you want, but you would want to add Red Rain as well, and you'd probably cut Wild Wind and the Baldrick or something. Either way, we have Dual Knockbird, we have Synchron Resonator, we have Chain Resonator, we have Max C, Crimson Resonator, Vision Resonator, Ash Blossom, Soul Resonator, One on King Wild Wind, Whirl Loop, Bone Archfiend, Centurion Primera, Centurion Trodea, Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper, Bystial Magnemud, Bystial Saunier, Bystial Druisworm, Bystial Baldrake, Bystial Rebellion, we have Foolish Burial, we have 3 Resonator Calls, obviously we have Stand-Up Centurion here, we have Void Apocalypse, we have Bandit Regained, we have Crimson Gaia, we have Called by the Grave, we have Crossout Designator, we have Oath, we have Wake Up, we have Evenly Matched, we have Infinite Impermanence, we have Centurion Phalanx, we have Red Zone, we got some Red Rising Dragons here, we have Ancient Pixie Dragon in case of, I guess, everything is being banished and we need to play around, yeah, Wildwind and Soul Resonator, some other stuff. Maybe we get Impermed on the Archfiend. Red Dragon Archfiend, Scarlight, Scar Red, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, Abyss, Bane, Dissipator, we have Chaos Angel, we have Blazar Dragon, we have Supernova Dragon, we have Crimson Dragon, and we have Auxilla. If you skipped ahead to the 50 card list and didn't see the 60 card list, I went over every single card in the 60 card list, and then obviously here's the ratios for the 50, and then you'd replace Chaos Angel with the Legacia. And here we have a pretty spicy list, because this list was already running Red Rain, because we have the Triple Tactics Thrust package with the Triple Tactics talent. Same extra deck as the 50 card list, because we don't really have much Bystial plays, but it can still do some sort of Giga line without the Regained. Since we're not running Regained as well, we do have more leeway of running the Flame Crime and having the Red Rain, even though a lot of the time we're going to be pressed for back row spots. That's just how it is now with Centur-Ion. But I think that covers pretty much all the changes to this deck list comparatively to the other two as well. Before we end the video, some people might have noticed, didn't you have 4 Abyss previously? Yes, I accidentally clicked the dismantle all extra cards. It said that there were no UR, and I saw there were 2 SRs, so I was like, you know what? It's not dismantling my Abyss at least, and I could get a bunch of material. I got kinda scammed. It just dismantled it anyways, dismantled my extras. And you know, the funniest part is, this is what happened here. I actually had an extra one with normal material, funny enough. I don't know exactly how that happened, but it was in range where I could just craft a bunch of cards and then claim it, which is why I maxed out on normal material. But still, it's in here, I cannot claim it, so I just got giga scammed. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, I'll see you again next time.